One. Steve Miller, rock star author and a man that has delivered great value to our company and many of the audience, many of the members of the Lions Pride. I'm pleased to welcome you to this live cast. Steve, where are you coming from geographically? And just give us one or two sentences to intrigue everyone watching.
Okay. Well, first of all, I should say, hey, Bill, thanks a lot for inviting me to come on today. I'm very excited to be here and talk to the gang on the Lions Pride and share a little bit of what I've learned over the years. My name is Steve Miller. I'm better known as Kelly's dad. Marketing gunslinger is what I call myself. And we live just outside of Seattle.
Lovely.
Just to give a quick background, essentially, marketing gunslinger. I'm a author, professional speaker. Been working to help corporations grow for about 32 years now. But I will say this: that the type of member that you would be talking to is right in the sweet spot of where I prefer to work.
Totally.
I've worked with the big guys, but you know what? And I've consulted with Coca-Cola and Boeing and Starbucks and groups like that. But the bottom line is with those guys, I'm only going to move just a little bit of sugar water. Right. Not going to move the needle a lot. So I'm very, very focused on the people whose needles I can move.
Well, Steve, that's what you and I are focused on. The guy that's watching this broadcast right now or will watch the rebroadcast is he's probably a guy in his 30s or 40s, potentially his 50s. He's a business owner normally, and he's a husband and father. He's right in that sweet spot vortex, that F5 tornado of life where you're trying to build a career, build a business, build family wealth, build a marriage, and build great kids. And if we can make that job easier for him, we move a big needle in his life. Now, when you go and help Boeing and Starbucks and all that's great because it affects millions and billions of people. But for you and me, I believe we go to bed satisfied when we know we helped that guy build his business, his family, his kids in a better way. So what we're talking about today, and I'm going to hand you the lead here in just a second. We know each other through your book, and I would have a copy of it. But as I told you,
I might have one.
I'm remodeling my home, and my entire house is in storage.
If I can find one here.
There we go. I figured the author would have a book.
Here we go.
There it is, Uncopyable.
It's
and
take it right there in the center. All right.
You sent me that book earlier this summer before I left, before the contractors took me out of my house. Mm-hmm. And I read it, and I contacted Kay, and I said, we need to be in touch.
Kay is my smoking hot wife, just in case anybody wants to know.
I didn't say that. I just said Kay. Now, it could have been your assistant. You're the one that's
what I call her. That's what I call her.
And I then bought a book, entire team of 18, because we've got 18 virtual employees, all who own virtual contributors. They're not employees, who all own their own companies.
Right.
And I said, this is how to build your business. And then Robert and I strategized with our team on how we could deploy many of those techniques in our company. So we're fans, we're advocates, and we're students. And so I thought, why not get on here on this live cast so that all our Lions Pride members could, in a short time, because they're time pressed,
sure,
we got to do them in the fire hydrant approach,
yep,
so that they could gain your expertise in a short conversation. And then, of course, at the end, we're going to guide them on how to get your book, because it'll literally change the trajectory of their business.
Well, that's awfully nice of you to say. I think that I'll tell you where it came from. Having been a business person myself for forever, I often, and I got started in the sales side of business, and gradually worked my way up into the marketing side of business. And one of the things that I noticed when I would go out and do sales and when I would do marketing was that there was a lot of me too-ism out there.
Oh, so much.
one of the benefits that I had growing up was my father was basically the co-inventor of the 8-track tape player. You and I might remember that, Bill, but I don't know about everybody else that's watching this. But they've read about it in history books, and one of the people that he had help work on that was a guy named W. Edwards Deming, who was the father of the total quality movement. And so, as a teenager, I actually got to spend time with Mr. Deming, and one of the things that he really stressed a lot in his conversations with my dad was that benchmarking is a really, really big part of running a business. Is that you benchmarking, to study best practices and then emulate them within your own context. Now, benchmarking is a very common practice in business today, and we all tend to do it. But the mistake that we make, that Deming pointed out, was that there are basically two sides to benchmarking, and one is that you benchmark within your world, within your marketplace, your industry, your benchmark. You're studying the competition, looking at what they're doing, and what this does is this tells you kind of where you stand in the race, so to speak, right? How are you doing compared to the competition? Now, unfortunately, most businesses and most business owners fall into the trap of that's the extent of their benchmarking, and they are constantly studying and looking at their world, so to speak. So, we look at each other, and I always use like hotels, airlines as examples, that there tends to be this strategic orthodoxy going on in there, where everybody kind of looks alike and acts alike. When one company comes out with something that it's a little bit faster, well, then all of a sudden everybody else comes out with something that's a little bit faster too, and so it's sort of like processionary caterpillars. They're all sort of just following each other around in this big circle, and Deming said that's all well and good to do that, to know how you are doing. But that is not where you get new ideas. That's not where you get ideas on how to separate yourself from the competition. Because one of the biggest problems that we have in businesses is that for the most part today, because of technology, products and services are falling into a trap of commoditization. It's easy to copy the competition. It's really easy. And so when you're trying to go to market, whether you are in the B2C world or you're in the B2B world, when you try to go to market, you're telling people about your product, you're telling people about your service, the price you're offering them, but there's not a lot of difference between you and the competition. And so the prospects who are out there are looking at you and saying, well, why should I buy from you versus the other options that are out there? Go ahead.
Doesn't that lead towards, well, I'm cheaper?
That sucks. I'm sorry, but that's what that is. That competing on price is a loser's game. I personally do not like to compete on price. I don't ever want to compete on price, and most of the clients that I deal with, they don't. I mean, when you think of Starbucks and you think of Nordstrom and people like that, they charge premium prices, and they get them, and that's what you want to do. You want to be able to charge a premium price that is still fair price, because I assume you're delivering value to your customers. But the last thing you want to do is go out and try to get a new customer by offering a cheaper price. And that's where Deming he said the other side of benchmarking was that when you want to separate yourself from the competition, you don't learn new ideas. You don't come up with new ways of doing that by just looking at your competition. You have to take yourself out of your world, so to speak. And in my book, I call, when I refer to developing an uncopyable innovation and uncopyable branding, I talk about a technique that I developed over the years called stealing genius. And really that's what he was talking about. He was saying if you want to come up with new ideas on how to be different and superior to the competition, go study alien organizations.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I used an example in the book about how I was working with the largest construction equipment trade show in the United States called ConExpo. And this thing is massive. It's huge. And these are construction guys, and they got the cranes and everything like that. Well, they were trying to figure out how to really set up their event as being not just bigger than everybody else, but also way, way better, way, 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 way different. Well, in one of our meetings in Chicago, I took them to the American Girl store in downtown Chicago. And for those of you that know that, I'm talking about a doll store.
With construction workers.
And I had a busload of construction workers who got off, Michigan Avenue in downtown Chicago, and I marched them into a doll store. And it was an incredible experience. And they couldn't take notes fast enough because the way that the American Girl took a doll and they turned it into literally a lifestyle type of approach of teaching young girls how to have positive self-esteem and how to feel better about themselves, and teaching them about American history. But all of this was done through a doll.
Right.
And so you go into the store and it's got a restaurant. It's a really nice restaurant. The last time I was there, the waiting list to get into the restaurant was like 3 months. They have hair salons for the doll, and dolls don't break, they get sick, so they have a hospital for the doll. So the whole idea of looking at what you are doing and seeing something different is this idea, and breaking away from the me too part of the world. Because once you start introducing something new, something different to the formula, now you're adding value that is really, really big. Great example, common example, Harley Davidson. I tell everybody, Harley Davidson does not sell motorcycles.
Mm.
They sell a lifestyle. They sell community. They sell, one of my favorite quotes of all time was when I was watching an interview with an executive at Harley Davidson, and they were saying, it was something to do with a conference or something going on in Milwaukee, and there were a lot of bikes there, and they were asking, okay, so what exactly is Harley Davidson all about? And he said, well, what Harley Davidson is we give the ability for a 43-year-old accountant to dress in black leather, ride through small towns, and have people be afraid of him. That's what they sell. So, and that's what we have to do in literally any business that we are in right now. If in today's highly competitive world, we have to figure out ways to separate ourselves from the competition, and we don't do that by just looking at the competition.
So, Steve, I think our viewers, our listeners are getting the concept, but we don't want to let them just get this knowledge and then go, oh, that's nice, I'll get to that someday. We want them to finish this call, this video, this live cast, and we really want them to start doing something. So say, most of our viewers have businesses between 2 and 20 million. Some work for big companies and they're leaders and all that. But let's focus on that business owner, the one where his decisions are where the rubber hits the road. If you were, and you're probably amazingly high priced for a lot of our guys, and you earn every penny of it, but if you were sitting across the desk from him and you'd spent a few hours or so in his company, what would be the most common pieces of advice, and specific advice? Like, when I walk out the door, I want you to do this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm. Well, number one is tell me your story.
Okay.
This too often, especially when you're talking about business owners who are in many cases, they're the founders of the company.
Correct.
And there's a story behind that about why did they start this business? What happened? What were they doing before? What caused this to happen? Were they an engineer somewhere? And they thought that there was a better way of bringing music to the world than the record players, right? Turntables. And they said, there's got to be a better way to do that. So I think I need to go out and find that, right? And voila, the 8-track was born, right? Because a couple of engineers, that's exactly what they came up. So most of the time when I'm talking to somebody, I say, tell me your story. How did you get started?
It's not a sign of big ego when you as the founder are telling your story. It's actually, you would encourage it because it's a foundational part of building your brand. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. It's the beginning of your brand. And in fact, in most cases, it actually ends up being your brand because what often happens is that people are saying, I thought there was a better way to do this. And so I decided that I was going to go risk everything, and I'm going to go out and start a company. I'm going to hire employees, and I'm going to take all of this burden on because I think there's a better way to do this. I think that people deserve a better way. And that story is uncopyable.
Leading to one of the key points I even sent your book to my children, Lane and David, who just started a company called togetherbox.com, and they're in a crowded space. They do have a unique concept. It was birthed out of their story as young college graduates finding their way in Switzerland, finding their first jobs. And out of that came the story, but it hadn't been told in the way that I felt your book encouraged the story to be told as part of their brand. And as such, they postponed their launch. They launched last Wednesday, I think, but they launched about 6 weeks later because they needed to go back and craft out that story in a more compelling way. So I think that made sense in a real world for me to watch my entrepreneurial children launching their business and actually seeing the before. This is what their story kind of was, or their brand, right, and now seeing what it is today. It's way more compelling now.
Well, and also then it helps people to identify with them.
Yeah. All right. So you got your story.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a story, right? They may not tell it well, but they can get good at it. Now what?
Yeah, well, so now the story becomes the basis of their branding proposition, so to speak. That they now say, look, I built this because I wanted to help you be more successful because I saw this thing back here that needed to be fixed, and if I fixed it, it would help you be more successful at something, right? It would help take away pain from your life. It will help you sleep better at night. And so I start to use that that's my marketing. I'm out there now, and I'm now going to be communicating that message with people. But what I will also do then, and this might sound a little crazy, but what I will do is I will look for some type of hook in there, to say, like say, help you sleep better at night. We'll just grab that for a second here. So I'm going to help you, we're going to help you sleep better at night because you're using our software. right? Or you're using our product or something like that. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm now going to tie in the picture of sleeping better at night.
Mm-hmm.
I might take, I might have pictures, but I'll make it fun, right? And I'll say, and you know how like companies will use testimonials from people,
Right?
And like that. What I might do instead is, I still want testimonials from people, but instead of like their headshot or a picture of them at their business or something like that, I'll say to them, send me a picture of you sleeping.
Got it. Like a baby.
Right? Yeah. And I'm on my website, I'll say, look at how well my clients are sleeping.
It's Thursday night. It's Thursday night. They got to make payroll tomorrow. Look at how my clients are
sleeping like a baby. Sleeping like a baby.
Great point. Which entrepreneur doesn't want to sleep like a baby because he hasn't slept like a baby for the last decade, when he first pulled the trigger on his company.
Yeah, and I noticed like you talked about in one of your I think it was in one of the blog posts about the idea that spending time with your children is really important, right? Well, maybe that's important. So I'm going to have pictures of my clients with their kids.
Sure.
Or I'll even tell them, I'll say, okay, when you go to Disneyland, when you go camping, when you go, sailing or something like that, take a picture, send it to me. And I put it on, and then I'm going to put it on there. And it becomes, see, everything in here is personal now.
Yeah.
It's showing personal contact. It's showing that I understand you, my customer. Because I come from your background or even if I don't come from your background, I do understand your situation. Right. I've done my homework, and here's proof positive of what I'm talking about with these examples that I'm showing you.
Well, Steve, I do have a book because I'm reading it. I want to show it.
Cool.
Get in the screen. It's called the Lion's Pride Brand Playbook. It was actually birthed out of the discussions, the very vigorous discussions we had after all reading your book.
Nice.
And there's, the typical stuff, the colors and the fonts and, all that. But right here in chapter 2, right here, I don't know if you can read that, for example, that says Mike's interests.
Mike's interest. I see that.
Okay, so our customer, the guy you encouraged us to seek out and find, is called Mike, and he's 42, and he's married to Catherine, and he has 2 children, and this and that, and this and that. So what you told us back in the book, and what you just reinforced right now, I think is a meaningful part. What you just said, and you inspired us to do in our book, is understand your customer. And we understand our customer because we've got a whole book. I mean, it's practically like he wrote his autobiography for us. And with that, we hypothesized we've built a brand that to him resonates. It's a unique place that he can't find anywhere else. And okay, not everybody's going to want to write their book, on their brand like we did, but at least they could go through that thought process of understanding their customer.
Well, I'll tell you something. Writing a book, that might be one of the most powerful things you can do. Is write a book, because you can tell your story like you're talking about.
Yep.
And I'm very, very honored that you mentioned that I helped you with that a little bit. But writing a book is probably the best, next to an endorsed referral, a testimonial. Next to that, a book is the best thing you can do.
So Steve, we've got the founder story. In the founder story, we began exploring what was important to us and what was important to our customer, and we've created a hook for that. Is there now a step 3 that our viewer could jump towards, so that they could solidify this into something that could help them make more money, maybe starting by Friday?
Make more money starting by Friday. Well, one thing is, like, okay, let's take your book and make it smaller.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take it. Let's write an article. or write a white paper, right? To be more successful, we got to fill the funnel. Our most important asset of our business is our list. That is the most
the list of prospects and the list of customers.
Customers, right? That's the most important thing. And so, you know, like I talk in my book about identifying your market as being the primary job first, then collecting, you know, and going out and finding them. You know, I call it hunting moose. And that if you define moose as being your target, well, then the idea is to say, okay, well, where do the moose hang out? So to start moving into the direction as fast as possible, what I want to do is I want to go find the moose. So you said Mike is your moose. And so I'm going to say, where is Mike? Where are all the Mikes? And then I'm going to go there. And now I want to, when I find them, wherever they're hanging out, then I want to offer some moose bait. Because I want Mike, because I want to go out there and I'm gonna get in front of all the moose, all the Mikes, and it's somehow in that medium where they're all located. I'm going to stand up and with some kind of a bullhorn, some way of contacting them, I'm going to say, hey, all you Mikes, how many of you have this problem? Mm-hmm. How many of you would like to sleep better at night? How many of you would like to spend more time with your kids? And then the ones who raise their hand, they're now in my funnel. I'm going to get them in my funnel. Now, how do I get them to raise their hand right now? And how can I do it this week? Write a white paper
on something that would be meaningful to that industry, meaningful to them.
Yeah, and related to and I will strongly encourage this, related to a problem that you can solve for them.
Cool.
And then I'll go out there and then I'll say, you know, if you have this problem, I have a free white paper for you.
And then that starts the engagement process, and then you create the relationship, and then you've given them value first, without an expectation of anything in return. And then you can continue to do that, which is what you encouraged in our book, which actually, you know, we launched a product today, way undervalued as far as dollars for value delivered goes. But the discussion of that product started happening in around June, after some of us were trying to think of how could we deliver even more value than we do through the free space. And so thank you to that. I mean, we're just going to give you credit for most of everything we did for the last 5 months. Hey, Steve, we're going to wrap up because Mike's busy. He's stuck with us this long. He's got 3 solid steps. Yep. Mike, I want you to, viewers, I want you to tell your story to somebody who's going to write it down, or if you can write and type, I can't, but if you can, write your own story. Think of it not as an ego stroking exercise, but as a brand building exercise that'll help you. Step 2 then is, out of that, you're beginning to understand, why did you care about this potential client out there? I mean, who are they and what's their pain point, and create the hook. And then Steve, you said, create some free value, a white paper, an ebook. You did a book, a full book. Mm-hmm. But something that you're going to deliver value to them without any expectation. And now you've got somebody that at least listens to you. Did I summarize that right?
That sounds awesome. Boy, I'm going to hire you to do my ghostwriting for me.
You can hire me anytime. Guy like you, I'd learn from every day. So, Steve, as I said, I sent this book to my sister, my kids, our team, everybody. I'm talking about it. I'm going to talk about it more. But I want the viewers to be able to contact you, get a copy of this book, connect with your business. So how can we connect them and you so that they can continue to get value like this?
Well, first of all, it would be awesome if people go get the book, and you just go on Amazon and search for Uncopyable. And it's right there. It's the only Uncopyable. If you type in Uncopyable, Uncopyble, right? And
hold that book up there just so they can see it. Yep, there you go. Uncopyable.
Get it back in the middle here. Uncopyable. So it's the only Uncopyable on Amazon, and get the book. All right, buy the real book, not just the Kindle book, because I'm going to give you a gift. I really want people to have this book. And I think the last time I saw it on Amazon, it was selling for like $19 or something like that. And so it's cheap. Go get it. And then when you get it, I'll give you a really nice gift. All right. Okay. I'll give you a really nice gift. And that is that I have a whole bunch of webinars and videos and everything like that I sell. Besides speaking and consulting, that's what I do too, right? And I've got this one that I call is titled "Put Your Marketing on Autopilot." And what it does is it helps teach you how to set this system up that we were just talking about how to go find your moose, what to offer them, how to get them to raise their hand and all this sort of stuff, and actually put it on autopilot to where, you can just turn it on and it starts to bring in new leads for you, right?
And you as the business owner can focus on something else.
That's right. That's right. Once you get the system set up, you can rock and roll with it. And I will give this to you, and I sell it for like $197 on my website. If you buy my book, I will give this program to you.
So we know how they can get the book, and then how do they get this awesome gift, which I'm going to personally take you up on, because I want to automate what we're doing.
I'm going to send it to you right after we get done talking here.
Okay, so how do the purchasers of your book?
I got ready for this by setting up a very, very fancy visual aid. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So here's the visual aid. All right. See if I can get that right. If I got that in the middle there.
Steve Miller at theadventure.com. I'm going to make sure I put that on the post-mortem of our Facebook post at theadventure.com.
Right. So all you have to do is forward me your receipt from Amazon, and I will send this to you right away, and or I'll send you access to it right away. And if you have any questions, just fire them off to me too. I don't, I'm happy to answer questions.
Plus, he's got Kay in the back seat, making him look really, really good.
Got the smoking hot wife back there.
The smoking hot wife.
She runs this place. I'm just the product, is all it is.
I know, you're just the person she props up.
As you well know.
I know.
Yeah. So, anyway, this has been awesome.
Most of us wise men have married way up above our pay grade, and that's okay.
Yep. No worries there.
The author of Uncopyable, a book that we not only found valuable in knowledge, but that we actually deployed in our case. Taking credit for that, by the way. That we actually deployed almost on a step-by-step basis inside the Lions Pride since May. And if you've seen a change in our branding over the summer, you can thank that guy right over there, because it went from good, it went to great, and it's on its way to world class. So
is there a guy over there? Oh, there's a guy over there. Oh. That's very gracious of you to say. I appreciate that very much. Well, because I really wanted the book to be easy to read and give you some really, really solid stuff that you can go out and do. So that's good.
And you did that again today. So a great presentation, high value. Steve, we're going to be in touch. I want to thank you for everything you shared today. Say hi to Kay for me when we hang up, and let's get out and roar.
Thanks, Bill. Enjoyed being with you.
You bet.